All right. Speaking of BYU, do you want to do the film room?
Oh, no way, did Kingsley.
I did, Kingsley.
Wow. It was funny. Was it week 0? Did they play week 0? It was the first BYU game of the season when they played Sam Houston. And that's what they played, right? Yeah. And I turned it on. It was late at night. I turned it on. I was in bed with my wife. And she's like, "Why are we watching this awful football game?" And I'm like, "I am merely here to watch one player and one player only." And she's like, "This," because I ended up falling asleep. And I wake up in the morning and she's like, "I was stuck all night. I couldn't find the remote, and I was watching this awful football game." And I'm like, "Oh."
You are watching this guy. You were watching big number 78.
Yes. He's playing on the left side this year, right?
He is. Oh, also, we need to update our last film room. We talked about Brandon Coleman possibly moving to guard. He's already gone ahead and done that. He pulled a Nick Broker from last year. He's already moved inside. He knows where the NFL wants him. So he's taken a year, his senior year, to translate his game to the inside. Gonna dive in as soon as I get any TCU film. I'm excited to see it. I'm glad we kind of called that when we did the film room.
Look at us go. It's almost like we know something sometimes.
Right.
Florida and guards. That's what we specialize in here.
Yeah. Florida and guards. And Osiris Torrance wasn't our jam. How does that make sense?
Anyway. Just gonna touch that one. But we gotta let our audio listeners know the video's not gonna pop up for you.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have to cut this part out. Yeah, I'm just so excited to spring this on you.
So we gave you the spoiler. Now go on YouTube and actually watch this how you should anyway, and watch our beautiful faces talk football, so you can watch some Kingsley.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna do some awkward hand waving for the video watchers
for the cut.
That's where we cut the video, so I can cut all this stuff out.
So ignore my hand waving earlier, Jared. I got to throw that in here. I don't know. I had a stroke earlier, but no, mind me.
I knew what you're doing, but it's funnier if we both do it. This is Kingsley Suamataia for the uninitiated, number 78. He is Panay and Noah Sewell's cousin, and he did play for Oregon. Transferred to BYU, played right tackle last year. He is playing, as Parker said earlier, left tackle this year for the Cougs. Just a big guy. He's 6'6", 6'7", 330 pounds. Big old guy. He's got a great wingspan, physically imposing guy. As you can see just on this film, Blake Freeland, 6'8", 300 pounds. You can see the size difference just between these two guys. So he is a unit. So let's get into this. Last year, this is the third game of the season against Oregon. Third start, you can tell. He had he was very leany, definitely struggled with games and stunts and passing them off. There'd be times where he stopped his feet and he would have issues collecting himself. So a lot of new starter issues, not so much physical issues or anything crazy like that, just technical stuff from this Oregon game. But you also got to see some of his natural physical attributes, which we'll show you here in this clip. This is a run.
Before you go, I do want to say it's funny that you mentioned the leaning, because just looking at his stance, and this is going to be super nerdy, but I wanted to bring it up. He's very front loaded in his stance. You can tell that his weight's on the balls of his feet. He's not sitting back in his heels, which you would think would be a good thing. But as an offensive lineman, we want to have all your cleats in the ground. You want to have good balance. And that's where I've talked to a couple people today on the X app, but about balance and how they talk about certain NFL players and how they're on the ground all the time. And I watched a cool. It wasn't the cool clinic, but I watched a cool clinic. I'm trying to remember where it was and who did it, but they were talking about, it was about evaluating, because I wanted to be better at evaluating this year and yada, yada, yada. But they talked about how one of the key things you want to watch for, and I bring it up all the time now, is balance. And that's not coordination like you think balancing on a tightrope, balancing your day-to-day life. But It's balancing your weight distribution, especially balancing through your punch and through contact and through a drive. And so you're not flailing all over the place. You're not falling down all the time. You see a lot in college football where some of these guys will roll like every other play. They're on the ground rolling around. And just looking at his stance, I knew this was going to be a lean, heavy guy just because he's very front loaded. I wanted to get that. I guarantee he's hand heavy, and I bet he uses his face a lot, which means it's going to be very fun to watch him just put dudes in the ground. So carry on. Bro.
Yeah. Kind of piggyback off of that. One thing I try not to knock dudes too much, especially evaluating college guys, is their stance. They're like, they are so varied. They are asked to do so many sets.
Correct.
Like, you will almost never see a good stance in college.
From high school to college, you're asked to do like 10 times more. And that's why you see a lot of weird stances. And it's guys that just look awkward because their coach is telling them to do this to be more powerful, be more athletic out of their stance. And they're not used to it. They have to change. Maybe they're flipping sides. Maybe they're changing positions. And you see a lot of college guys. I mean, you can watch any college game, and I guarantee at least 2, if not 3, of the front 5 will look very awkward in their stance, and that's just that comes with college football, folks.
Yep. So BYU zone heavy scheme, run a lot of short game, stuff like that. So we're not going to be able to glean too much from their passing game. So a lot of these clips, I try to get as much, especially later in the season. I'll show you. But this is the best rep from this Oregon game, and it's outside zone to the left. So it's a backside run, and just this is fun stuff.
Oh, just run it. Oh, just take him.
It's always like, I know, like he doesn't complete the reach, which is, in my book, it's fine. Especially like you were saying, he's kind of leaning and stuff in his stance, and his get off that rep is here. We'll just, oh gosh, I hate how slow this goes, because like that whip there is how fast I usually go. But you can see he's laid off the ball here, and you can see he's got to shift so much of his weight to that outside foot, and he just can't get there in time. But I love that he does the outside zone thing, and it's like, block him where you find him. And it's like, and he just takes this dude to the fucking grocery store.
Well, that's the thing to see with a lot of these power guys that are in these zone schemes, because again, you don't pick your scheme when you're picking a college, I'm sure. And so as you see, he's more of a mauler. He's probably going to be a big mauler in the league with that frame. He's not going to be the athletic guy that can cut it off and rip that backside hand through. But grabbing that armpit, grabbing that backside hip, and taking him across the field, that's where you get the really fun cutback lanes, and you see jump cuts out of your running back that just bust for 60 yards. And it's fun to. And I knew when you said it was wide zone and he was the backside, that is the play we were going to get. And it's so fun to watch a lineman just bring a DN with him across the width of the field.
Yeah, the only thing I would like to see a little bit different when he's in this situation, and this is just an experience thing, he'll do this in the league. He'll figure this part out, is to reset that backside hand and to put it on his hip so he can drive.
The armpit to the hip. Yep.
Yeah. So like, it's the little things like that like he does this. He shifts this dude. Like, you can see him torque him at the end of this. Like, it takes so much strength.
Because that guy's, he's not letting you take him. Like, he's
right.
He's trying to shed over the top. He knows what you're doing now. You're in him. He's trying to come back over the top, and just being able to just ragdoll that guy this is a strong dude, man. This is a strong dude.
You said something about athleticism. I think you should have held off on that take until we got a little further down the road. I'm going to tell you right now, there's 3 screen clips in this
film. I never said he wasn't athletic. I just said he wasn't like, he's not going to be like these undersized tackles or like a Blake Freeland that's got a leaner frame that's running everywhere. You can be big and powerful and still be a mover. Don't get me wrong. I was not saying that.
Yeah. So this is 5 or 6 games past the Oregon game. There was a pretty big gap in my film that I was able to get for this. But this is later on. Look at his stance already. Look how much more evenly it's distributed. Yeah. Like, you can already tell his hands are ready. I don't like hands on the knees, but it's better than some of the stuff you see. I don't know who it was, but there's a guy that like crosses his hands over his leg. I want to say it's Patrick Paul, but he like crosses his hands on his leg, on his knees. And that's how like
Lane Johnson style. Cause like Lane's got both hands on the knee, on one knee.
He does. He does it on both. But the guy I'm talking about, I need to find the clips, but he does it on both legs, and it drove me absolutely insane. I couldn't watch it I watched it for like 5 minutes. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Like dead snapping centers, bro. It's like dead snapping centers. Oh, look at him go. Oh,
yeah. Yes. Just there's, like I said, there's 3 of these clips. Every single one of them is him crushing a defensive back. Like he covers so much ground so quickly.
He already moves so much better out of that stance. Like you can tell he figured it out and he feels a lot more comfortable in that stance.
Yeah.
Dude,
here's
a crazy punch.
this is one of the few normal pass sets I could get. So and as you saw, he has very nimble feet. He is very quick and he will jump set a lot. I don't know. I've seen this a lot with right tackles. I don't know if it's more of a right tackle thing or if it's just like more of a college thing, but I see it a lot with college right tackles. But he jump sets a lot. So this one, I like that he did it. He set, and then he found his spot. He settled into a spot real quick because he has chip help. So he gets the chip help, and then the power to do that to the guy, and like it fucked him all up.
Look at him tumble back like he's coming home from the bar, man. Just like whoa, man, whoa.
But
I love that readjustment off the chip. Where I don't know if you can go slower through the chip, but bringing that inside hand right back into the armpit. Where
that was my next point. Yes.
You'll see in a lot of guys in the NFL when they get that chip help, they have a hard time finding where that guy is and getting.
Or they'll just hang on and it's a hold.
Yep, like that's where you get in a lot of bad situations, and he's able to like let himself separate, reposition his body, and give a nice solid punch right to the armpit. And that's how. Go ahead.
You can see him gather here.
Yeah.
So he gathers himself here, plants that left foot. And then you can see him winding up that right foot for the punch.
Well, it's crazy with him because like he's not delivering a full like hook punch with that inside hand. He's placing it on it and he's extending through. Like that's again, this is a very strong. That's why I love watching him. I love watching, like Jared talked about earlier, like we joked about earlier, big and strong, right? But you love seeing a tackle or any lineman that can just get hands on a guy and throw them with just pure extension. They're not bringing that punch. They're just tossing them.
That clip is there because that strength is rare. That doesn't pop on everybody's film. Like that is the really fun stuff.
He just lock off.
Snatch. Yeah, I was trying to remember what this one was. It gets called a holding, but like, first of all, this is a one-handed block.
I was gonna say he doesn't use.
He grabs with that.
That's like grabbing your kid by the arm and yanking them back to you when they're running away in the mall, man.
Yeah, he doesn't move his outside hand. He punches. You'll watch it. I'm gonna play it here again. He punches, and you see it. It's right here. It's right where you want it to be. Right on the inside, like the armpit. He's grabbing the armpit jersey. And that's like, it's just a slide to the middle. And once he has that in the middle and that dude is leaning forward, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going you're going to put him on his face. I like that he throws his inside hand has wrist control. He has the defender's in the inside hand of the defender with his inside hand.
Well, I love the pause by the quarterback, and you just know in his head as he gets to the edge of the pocket, he's like, "Oh damn!" And then he goes back.
I feel like the only reason this got called is because the quarterback bails to the snatch.
Mm-hmm.
Like he gets away with this all day because I bet this ref isn't even paying attention if he like. First of all, hits whoever's open over here.
Well, look, I mean, you got the guy cross anyway.
You got this guy. You got this guy. Throw the fucking ball, and you can avoid the holding call. But this fucking guy, fuck that guy. I usually don't talk shit about the rest, but fuck that guy. That's a good
snatch. That's a good snatch, baby. Come on.
Snatch track. This one, I did this one because this is another athletic feat that is like a tiny little inkling that gives me a bigger idea of his overall athleticism. This is a slide. I think this is a slide to the left, what they end up calling here. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the line here. One of these guys over here is going to drop out, but you see he is working inside out. This guy here drops. So he takes a step in, and then he's got to get this 9 out here, which we know is really hard to recover from.
It's hard to just get to the 9 in general, let alone when you're setting inside and getting back out there. Just FYI.
Yeah. So I wanted to give that context before, because you don't see much of the step inside, and you don't really get the idea of the slide without the end zone angle. But I wanted to provide that context because you're about to see a man take one of the quickest pass sets to a 9 after an inside step that I've seen in a hot minute.
Oh my God.
At 6'7", 330 pounds, 340 pounds, I think he's listed at this year. Big dudes don't move like that.
Well, just watch him teleport off the post. Like, he's step inside checking and bam, I'm out here. That's like,
yeah,
that's crazy. And especially that.
And he doesn't even, like, the craziest part is he doesn't even need to move that fast. His wingspan is so ridiculous. Like, he could DeJuan Jones this and stick his arm out there and just get the guy around the arc. But no, he makes it. He makes the intentional point to make sure he is in front of the guy.
No, I'm gonna punch you in the face and you're gonna like it.
Yeah. So it, like, I was so skeptical after the Oregon film. I was like, man, he needs a lot of development. I am so encouraged by how quickly he's starting to do some of the more advanced things with his athleticism. So that's just something I really wanted to point out. It's something I got really excited about when I was watching. And that's why I was so excited to do this film room. That clip right there really was like part of the reason I was like, okay, this is one of those things like, yeah, this is a dude.
Well, in that quick development at the college level, like when you can see them transition from like week 1 to even like week 5, 6, 7 in college, you can see their game. And it's not just getting more technical, but getting better at, like you said, these advanced moves, this higher level athleticism, and really just unlock their full athletic potential. Because these are still kids, right? They're still young kids and they're getting out there. They're still trying to grow into their body. They look awkward. And that's why you have all this different stuff. And seeing a guy just develop over the course of a season, that's what gets me excited about some of these lesser known prospects, because you'll see these guys develop through college very quickly and you'll see them hit the NFL and they just jump up boards. They jump up and they become starters really quick because they can pick up the scheme fast. They're a sponge in their OTAs and their training camp. They're willing to learn and they can adjust and they can apply that instantly. And that's stuff that like a lot of people won't notice. And that's where you'll see a lot of these higher end draft prospects bust out or take longer to develop, and you see kind of these mid-rounders. That's why they hit so often, because you get these guys that are willing to work and they want to learn and they want to get better, and it's at such a more aggressive pace.
It's the reason I watch game film chronologically. I like to see that progression over time, over like the course of a season, because you can have bad games and whatnot, and I don't want to knock anybody for that. But if I can see like continuous growth, like consistency start to pick up throughout a season, that's something I'm way more interested than high end flash plays, but also games where they like a player will disappear for 2 whole games. So yeah. Also, while you were saying all that, Suamataia doesn't turn 21 till January.
Oh, you love this.
He was 19 years old doing this.
Don't sleep on the youngins, man. I'm telling you, they just want to do it. Oh, I love this risk. Oh,
and then like this one showing he's getting way more advanced with his hands already.
People don't appreciate how hard it is to meet hands with a defender. Like people will joke about it and say they're dancing and stuff, but that is so effective because a defensive lineman and an edge rusher, all they work is hands and arms and chops and all these different moves. If you can grasp hands or grab a wrist, that's why I always tell my guys to wrestle. Just O-line shout out. But getting that control early is crazy. It's so good.
It works both ways too. Will Anderson's tape from Alabama it is littered with him grabbing offensive linemen's wrists
Lever.
and like pushing them up.
Lever.
Like,
Hit the
yeah.
lever.
And it's really fun when you can see a player do that. But you see him flash the hands, then bam, he plays patty cakes. He's not letting anybody get into his chest. He gets a little off balance there from the inside, the counter inside, but recovery is still that's an experience thing. Yeah. But I love that he was flashing hands on that one. And I think I have maybe one more clip. Oh yeah. This is play's not over. Play's not over. Yeah. So like I love that I had so many like notes that were like, man, if he can improve this stuff, I saw some like high level stuff. And then like through the season, you see him starting to stack those wins, stack the consistency, become a more consistent player. And like, I cannot wait. I think Suamataia is going to be one of those guys that we're talking here around combine time as potentially a first round pick. I think he's a like back end of the first round, early second round kind of guy. Maybe one of these contenders want to take a flyer on this beautiful offensive tackle class. Suamataia would be the best guy, and he has potential to climb even higher. I think with his tools and stuff, I think he could move into the early first, like the top half of the first round, but we'd have to see a crazy climb for something like that.
Well, he has swing tackle potential. He's got a frame that can fit in as one of these bigger guards that you see some of these teams pick up now. So you have a positionally versatile player that has shown that he can be a sponge, that he wants to develop quickly, that he has the ability to develop quickly. And that's what we like to call, Jared, a high floor player.
Yeah. I still would like to see, I don't know, man. I don't want to call him a high floor because I still feel like there's something about his game that's just like he needs, like more. He needs more overall more experience.
We haven't watched this season yet, Jared.
And I said, I think he has all of the physical tools to be a blue chip kind of tackle, but I need to see it all put together for a blue chip tackle like Oli Fashanu. He loses sometimes, but it is rare. That he's like the epitome of a blue chip tackle in my book. Him and like who would be another good one that I've watched recently? Because even I kind of feel the same way about Kingsley as I did Icky. Like maybe his confidence can get him in trouble sometimes, like with oversets and leaning and punching and stuff like that. So maybe if I see that kind of reined in, I could. But that's more of like a being an adult and like a mature like.
Well,
you know
that's
what I'm
the thing.
saying?
Like, and I haven't watched the film a lot. I watched a lot of Icky's film, and I agree. I mean, you can see some of these kids when they know they're good. I mean, you can see them get a little cocky in their sets, and that's where I watched a 30, 40-second highlight clip here. I've watched some games this year, and I have opinions from the games that I've watched, and I'll save those for when we get later film, and we can do some of these breakdowns, on whatever we're going to throw them out. But you like to see a guy, and that's why I'm a big fan of Joe Alt. And I know people can say that he can come off cocky and like kind of just that I know I'm good, so I'm going to do this instead. And we've talked about that. I don't know if it was necessarily on the show, but we've talked about that kind of independently. But if I can get some of this Kingsley film and he's not being over aggressive, and we talked about balance earlier, and he looks athletic, but a lot of these college kids have problems with balance. If he's able to get out there and work and honestly do the easy things extremely well and just show that he can be technical and not try and do flashy stuff, which I don't know him personally, obviously, but with a player that wants to develop like this, I don't expect that out of him. And so if we can get some of this film from this season, he's being very controlled. You can tell he's really trying to hone in his craft and prepare himself because he's taking that jump, and we feel very confident, obviously, that he's going to take that jump to the next level. If he can play within his means and just show off that technical ability, that's the type of prospect that I love. You know that I love that type of guy. That's my guy, man.
And I think maybe part of it is the level of competition at BYU, especially these 2 seasons, like last year from where I pulled the film and this coming up season isn't the best. So maybe and he's not eligible for any all-star circuit or anything. So it's like we're not going to see him against top level competition until he's playing against top level competition. And that's always going to make me pump the brakes. And I think that's probably what I was trying to convey earlier, but couldn't get it out.
Is he a Shrine Bowl candidate?
No, those are all they have to be like graduating class. So I think
I'm trying to learn more about the bowl games. I love watching those things, man. And now I found a way to get some Senior Bowl practice footage last year. Now I'm all amped up about it this year.
Oh yeah, it sounds awesome.
But yeah,
all right. Man, so that was my
kid, man. It got me excited about another guy, man.
Yeah. Well, next time, I really think our next film room is going to be Gervin Dexter. It won't be on Monday because that's a short turn.